in the north of the country has now been identified as Ebola. The health minister, Felix Numbi, confirmed that tests on 2 people had confirmed the disease in Equator province, where 13 people had already died. A quarantine zone is being set up to contain the disease, and the cases are the first reported outside of West Africa since the outbreak began.
Sad as it may seem, it's a reality, as the Democratic Republic of Congo has declared an Ebola outbreak in its northern Equator province after 2 out of 8 cases tested came back positive. But the World Health Organization believes that the disease, which had killed at least 70 people in Equator, was a kind of hemorrhagic gastroenteritis. Meanwhile, Sierra Leone's parliament took a huge step on Saturday, August the 23rd, as it has now made harboring Ebola victims a crime, punishable by 2 years in jail, in an attempt to stop the spread.
Okay. You can infect so many people, so I'm sure the president thought of that. That is why he decided that if you do home treatment, they will jail you for 2 years.
Lawmakers in Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, voted overwhelmingly in favor of the 2014 Public Health Amendments Act, which amends a 54-year-old public health ordinance.
This is one of the positive moves made by the president. Of course, whatever laws that are put in place are within the context of the laws of Sierra Leone.
Underreporting of Ebola cases has been a problem, particularly in Liberia and Sierra Leone, currently the 2 countries hardest hit by the virus. Fear, stigma, and denial have led many families to hide their infected loved ones from health officials. In other instances, patients have been forcibly removed from the treatment facilities and isolation centers, creating the risk of the disease's further spread.
We need to ensure that we enhance contact tracing, and we need to enhance the active surveillance to search for cases, and we need to improve on our case management so as more of these cases come in to our treatment center and isolation units, we are able to adequately address them in a timely manner.
As the outbreak has spread across borders from its initial epicenter in Guinea, governments in the region have introduced increasingly strict travel restrictions.
With all the cancellations, the flight cancellations to Sierra Leone and the West in the Mana River Union, this is a challenge for us because most of our supplies do come in through aircrafts and commercial flights that come into the country, by the way. So the cancellation of commercial flights has created a huge setback for us in the fight against Ebola, because most of our PPEs come through commercial flights. Most of the senior clinicians that we do have from WHO and other organizations come through commercial flights. So the problem we have is that has created a negative impact on the fight against Ebola for us.
The only upside in this situation of late occurred today when Japan announced that it would like to offer a drug to help treat the deadly Ebola virus before the World Health Organization officially rules on its use. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshida Suga told a news conference that Japan has received inquiries from some countries on the influenza drug favipiravir, or T705 as it's known in the developmental code. Japan's Fujifilm Holdings Corp. and U.S. partner Medivector are in talks with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to submit an application to expand the use of favipiravir as a treatment of Ebola. The Ebola epidemic in West Africa has killed more than 1,000 people and prompted the WHO to declare an international health emergency.
I'm now being joined live from the Washington, D.C. by the Voice of America's Carol Pearson, who is the health correspondent there. Carol, thank you so much for joining us again on The World Today. Now, a Liberian doctor has passed on despite being treated with ZMapp. What do you think went wrong in the process?
Well, nobody can say, actually, because with work, and there are only 6 people who've gotten it. So far, 2 have died. There are no words from the 2 other doctors in Liberia who received the drug about their condition. I was looking for an update this morning and couldn't find it. But what is interesting, the World Health Organization came out with a statement today saying that an inordinate number of healthcare workers have contracted the Ebola virus during this outbreak, and about half of them have died. 240 have gotten sick, 120 have died. And they looked at some of the reasons why this may have happened. One of it is that you have too few doctors dealing with with this huge outbreak, which means that they're working 6 or 7 days a week. They're working longer than is recommended with such a highly infectious disease. And when you work such long hours, you do tend to make mistakes. They're also talking about the fact that many of the doctors may not be trained, or healthcare workers may not be trained in how to wear protective equipment, and there may not be enough protective equipment to go around.
Now, Carol, despite precautionary measures being taken, is there something that, some of the affected countries don't seem to be getting right now that we have more cases like that in DRC, which is actually out of West Africa? Is there something that we're not getting right?
I don't think that it's so much something that's not being gotten right. It's that there are too few healthcare workers for the large number of people who have gotten Ebola. And now that they're focused on Ebola, it means that, maternal care other things are being ignored. I think it's just a matter of scarcity and the long time that it took for organizations besides Doctors Without Borders to get mobilized and to get volunteers in there to help the African doctors.
So, Carol, what are your last words concerning this? What do you think we need to do to improve the situation now?
People need to stop being so afraid. People need to comply with their government's requests of isolation, using hand sanitizers, using methods that prevent the spread of Ebola, and by reporting anybody who is sick so they can go to a treatment center.
Carol Pearson from the Voice of America in Washington, thank you so much for speaking with us. I've been speaking with the health correspondent for the Voice of America. She's been telling us more about the situation. Now, there's some good news from Mozambique, as the government has signed a ceasefire with the Renamo opposition party in a bid to end hostilities ahead of elections in October. The deal follows 2 years of low-level clashes between armed members of Renamo and government forces. Back in 2013, Renamo withdrew from a peace deal and signed more than 20 years earlier, which had ended a protracted civil war. Last week, as part of negotiations, the government began releasing Renamo prisoners captured in recent fighting. The ceasefire was signed last night in the capital Maputo between Renamo's chief negotiator and the government after almost a year of negotiations. Renamo has been fighting a low-level insurgency since party leader Afonso Dhlakama returned to the bush in 2012, and that's 2 decades after he had agreed a peace deal with the governing Frelimo party. Now it's time for us to take a look on the lighter side of life. And yesterday was clearly one of the biggest nights in music history when the MTV Video Music Awards took place. Here's what happened.
Miley Cyrus, Wrecking Ball!
Miley Cyrus, who set tongues wagging last year with her raunchy twerking during a VMAs performance, won the night's top prize for Video of the Year for Wrecking Ball. She opted not to collect her award, instead sitting in the audience and holding back tears while sending a homeless young man named Jesse to collect it.
Thank you all. My name is Jesse, and I am accepting this award on behalf of the 1.6 million runaways and homeless youth in the United States who are starving, lost, and scared for their lives right now. I know this because I'm one of these people. Thank you. I've survived in shelters all over the city. I've cleaned your hotel rooms. I've been an extra in your movies. I've been an extra in your life. Though I've made